Hello, everybody. I am here with a very special guest. This is my friend and fellow brand partner, Ashley Barta. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And I've known Ashley for a little while. We knew each other before we were working together on our Lifewave Patch project, if you will. But I was already learning from her because Ashley has an amazing background. And Ashley, if you don't mind, would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself, if you feel comfortable, where you're from and
Yeah,
really what you do?
yeah. So I was born and raised in Texas. I'm actually from Dallas, and I lived there up until I was the age of 15. And then at the age of 15, I moved to Houston, and I've been here ever since. Um, I've been into holistic health since about the age of 22, and what inspired me to get into holistic health and wellness was actually watching two documentaries on Netflix called The Beautiful Truth and The Gerson Miracle. So I don't know if you're familiar with Gerson therapy. You may be. Okay.
Oh,
I don't want to say too much on here about it because I know this is YouTube, but
yeah.
it helps people with the C word. And that's actually where I learned about coffee enemas before it got super popular on social media. So after that, I decided to start a natural living blog called Ash's Tray. I That was like in 2010.
Mhm.
And my most popular blog article was actually my experience coming off of birth control.
Yeah.
So I was on birth control for like 6 years, and there wasn't a whole lot of information online at the time about coming off birth control. So a lot of people could relate to me. So it was really interesting to see how popular that article was.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
So cool. By the way, I didn't know a lot of this. So interesting for
yeah,
And I'm seeing, by the way, a lot of the birth control stuff, coming out now, which I will just say, oh, I'm 48 and I don't think that a lot of that was explained, let's say, I don't know, 15 or 20 years ago, people weren't talking about all this. So it's interesting.
yeah, no, I couldn't find anything online about coming off birth control around that time. So
Mhm.
it was fun to relate to other people and have people comment on my article.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2013, that's when I bought my first home.
Yeah.
I was living there for a few years and everything was fine. And then I started to experience a lot of health issues like postnasal drip, bad breath, acne, a caffeine intolerance.
Mhm.
I wrote notes because I can't remember
Yeah.
everything.
Please check your notes.
Dry eyes, brain fog, and the weirdest symptom of all was I had an orange tint to my face when I would wear certain skincare products, even natural skincare products.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I remember I would always wear, I would always use Juice Beauty green apple peel.
Mhm.
I don't know if that product is around anymore, but every time I would use it, my skin would turn orange. And I thought it was the product, but I
Mhm.
think it was actually a liver bilirubin issue. I
Mhm.
didn't know at the time, but I think that's what it was because when I would try to use rosehip seed oil, it would do the same thing. So I don't think my liver was processing things very well because I had been exposed to mold, but I didn't know at the time. Okay, so I also had some gut issues, which
Mhm.
later I found out was candida overgrowth. But I didn't know any of that. I just kind of dealt with it because they were just minor symptoms. And so I just dealt with it and I did a lot of neti pots because of the post nasal drip. And I had to scrape my tongue every day because of my bad breath. And I really wanted to get to the root cause and I just didn't know how to do it, especially because there wasn't a lot of information online about functional medicine and holistic health and stuff. So then in 2020, that's when I started working from home full time. And that's at the end of 2020, that's when my symptoms got worse. I still had all the symptoms that I spoke about earlier, but I just started feeling really, really unwell. So I had hyperpigmentation on my skin. I was feeling dizzy. My vision was blacking out for a couple seconds when I would stand up. I had heart palpitations, electrical zaps in my brain. I had a hoarseness in my throat, which later I found out was a thyroid issue. I actually had this huge goiter you could see. Um, I know pretty thin, but like in the picture I have, you can like see like this huge bump in my neck. I also had bloody noses a lot, hair loss, and more brain fog, insomnia. I honestly didn't know. I never would have guessed it was my home that was making me sick. It was actually, I had actually guessed that it was my diet. So that's when I decided to hire a functional nutritionist to see if there was something in my diet. And what she diagnosed me with was candida overgrowth. And so she had me on biocidin and GI detox and an anti-candida diet. And after that, after following the anti-candida diet religiously for like 3 months, I was actually feeling worse. And I'm now that I think about it, it's probably because of the biocidin and the GI detox and just being exposed to mold. But I didn't know at the time, and the nutritionist didn't know at the time either, because she was fairly new and she just never brought up my environment. And around that time, I decided to fire my functional nutritionist because things weren't getting better. I was feeling worse. I felt like I was like dying and I didn't know why. But luckily my son, who was, I think, 4 or 5 at the time, I think that's when he started experiencing candida overgrowth symptoms as well. So that's when I kind of like put 2 and 2 together. I was like, okay, I think it's something in our house, because I had learned on some Facebook groups about mold, and I was like, I think I have mold in my home. And that's when I decided to order an ERMI. I did the VCS test. I did the mycotoxin test, and then I hired a mold inspector. And I had a good experience with the mold inspector, but when it came to mold remediation, I had a lot of issues. I had 2 botched mold remediation jobs, and it took me a really long time to find a reputable mold inspector, reputable mold remediation company.
Sure.
But I finally found a good one, and they were able to make my home safe again. But yeah, just dealing with all of that, I felt the need to start educating people on Instagram and just kind of share my experience so people wouldn't have to go through what I did. So that's how
I
I'm
love
here. And then I met you.
Yeah. And I think we both have a lot in common in that I feel like you had your knowledge of holistic health before your experience. Mine came after. I had no idea about any of this, but I do know that for a lot of us that experience this and that we go through health issues from especially environmental stuff, I think there's a real, you just have like a mission to help people because it also makes, I think it makes your experience make more sense and feel more significant if you can help other people get better or avoid having the experience, and just putting that, even to be aware that mold is such an issue. And if you suddenly start experiencing health issues, looking at your environment, and especially if several folks in your family have things happening with their health, really good to look at your environment before anything else. And that even if things look great and you don't see any apparent problems, that's actually most of the people that I know that have gotten sick from this, it wasn't obvious. It wasn't like they walked in. It wasn't what you would imagine it to
Yeah,
be. The places I lived in looked and smelled pristine, but they were moldy. So it's like it's not always what people expect, and that's one of the
definitely.
things I bring to the table. It's like it's when you least expect it that it's there.
Hmm.
So
Definitely.
yeah, exactly. It's so your story is so interesting, by the way. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. I'm nervous because I don't think I've ever been on a recorded Zoom meeting before.
Don't worry about being nervous. Trust me, I get nervous all the time. It's no big deal. I just think that makes it even more significant that you showed up. Like it's fine to be nervous, and it's just fine to say you're nervous because we're just all here being humans.
Thank you, Megan.
You're willing to to go through your nervousness to help other people. And I appreciate that a lot. I think that's a big thing. And I hope other people do as well.
Thank you.
So oh my gosh, you're welcome. One of the things that I would love to also hear about is, so I know we've talked about some of the issues that you had with mold, but, as it pertains, so I I met you and, we already knew each other, but when you were kind of talking about some stuff that was going on with you and your health and things like that. And that was when I started telling you about the Lifewave patches. And I'm always a little bit shy about sharing them with people that I know, but I know the capacity that they have to support our bodies and sometimes to basically make our bodies act as if they were younger, and do some things a little bit faster. And so I know I told you about the patches. I can't remember how many months ago, but I guess what I'm a little curious about is kind of what are some of the issues that you feel like have improved, since wearing the patches, like what was going on and how did you feel then and how do you feel now? What was your experience?
Yeah, so I feel like I healed significantly after getting out of my moldy environment and moving in with my parents, but I did have some lingering issues. Like I just didn't have a lot of energy. A lot of the times I would want to take a nap, like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I still have an issue with my liver. It's not, I guess I would say I had a caffeine intolerance issue. I still have it somewhat, but it's gotten better. Um, I would say, trying to think of what else. I would say I used to have painful periods. They're still there, but not as bad now. But when I started the X39 patch, the very first day of using it, I noticed I had so much more energy. I had actually laid down that afternoon wanting to take a nap. And within like 2 hours of wearing the patch, I just felt so much more energized. And I actually didn't end up taking a nap and got out of bed. And I was like, wow. But that's the biggest thing I noticed. So like when I first started using it. I know that not everyone's going to experience that right away. I guess I'm just special because not everyone notices it within like 1 day of using the patch. Um, let's see.
I think
I,
also you were taking care of your body. That's an important thing too. So you were taking care
yes.
of your body, you were giving it the nutrients that it needed, and you were already
Mhm.
getting things and had things in pretty good order in your body. And I think that that's going to give you a leg up in feeling those patches. If you're mineralized, if your diet's good, and if you're generally just taking care of your vessel and then you use the patch, it tends to be, I think, a little faster. Mhm.
I agree. Yeah. So I also so I had mentioned I get painful periods every month. And I'm still getting them, but they're not as painful, especially when I'm wearing the X39 patch below my belly button. It's taking the pain away within like 1 to 2 hours of wearing it, which I was not expecting. There was actually one day where it was so bad that it wasn't helping, but most months it helps. And I also recently had a hormonal migraine, which I don't usually get, but I had one a couple of weeks ago. And within like an hour of wearing the X39 patch on the back of my neck, the migraine went away, which is so awesome.
I think that's amazing.
I've never tried the Ice Wave patch, which I'm interested in trying, but it's just amazing that the X39 patch can even help with a migraine and pain or pain all over the body. And for the X39 patch as well, I've noticed I've had just better looking skin. I would say my acne already cleared up after getting out of the mold, but I did have some hyperpigmentation issues and loss of collagen as well. So I noticed that my skin looks more plump and just smoother and brighter now. So I really like that and wasn't expecting to notice it so quickly. But those were the main symptoms that are main benefits that I've noticed so far from using the X39 patches.
I think that's so great. And I feel like there's also always so much going on in our bodies that we'll never know what it's doing, but we always know it's doing something.
Yeah,
I feel like
for
that's
sure.
you see that, that glow coming back in your skin, the collagen production, that inside your body, there's some good stuff happening too, because your skin is so indicative of everything internal. So I always
Yeah.
about that. It's one of those things where, a lot of times when we don't know what the X39 does, it seems initially you're like, wow, this is so expensive. This is $99.
Mhm.
It's like we just have this big question mark about what it might do. But the way that I look at it now, even for the skin benefits, to have like my skin at 48 looks so much better than it did at 42. And so
Mhm.
that's a big change, and I didn't have to do a lot of, crazy expensive stuff to it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and then I think to me, the stamina and the energy is such a valuable thing because so many people are running on empty and they're grabbing, the energy drinks that everyone is finding out are not good for you. They're just trying to do things to keep their body going in an artificial kind of energy state. So I think
Yeah.
something that makes your actual body produce natural energy is
Hmm.
$99 a month is so inexpensive for that, in my
I
opinion.
agree.
Because when you have energy, like I always break it down to daily stuff, but when you have energy and it's less than the price of probably, I don't drink Starbucks coffee, obviously, but
Me neither.
if I did, I drink tested mold-free coffee, right? But if I did drink Starbucks, it would be cheaper than a Starbucks. It's like
Hmm.
$3 a day to
Yeah.
so much better. What are your favorite patches out of, like, what do you wear on a daily basis? And what do you think have been some of the benefits?
Yeah. So my very favorite is obviously the X39 patch. Um, just because who wouldn't want to wear it every day to reverse your biological clock? I will probably wear it for the rest of my life. I love it so much. And I would say my second favorite patch is Carnosine, which I was not expecting, but I actually started wearing it. Well, I've worn it like a total of 4 times so far, but I actually bought it to improve my vision because of my dry eye issue. This right eye is always like the vision in my right eye is just more blurry than my left eye. So I always wear the patch right here
Oh, that's
at
good.
nighttime. So, but what I didn't realize is that it can also help with mental clarity and removing a certain metal that starts with the A. I don't know if I can say that on here.
Probably not, because they'll say that you're making claims about it. Get the
But I noticed that the first night, actually one night I only wore it for like 4 hours just because I was worried that it may be too stimulating. So, but the second night I wore it all night. And the next day when I woke up, I had this horrible migraine. That's actually the migraine I was talking about. And the pain from the migraine was actually on this side of my head. So I was like, I think this is the patch helping me detox. So that's when I decided to do a lymphatic massage, just like around my scalp and, the big six. You know what I'm talking about, right? The big six. um, so after that, the next day, I felt like I had such better mental clarity than I ever have. And I feel like my brain just still doesn't function as well as it used to, but I feel like it's just gotten so much better since I've been wearing the carnosine patch.
Yeah.
And for my third favorite patch, I would say the Alavida because of the skin benefits. That's what I initially purchased the patches for. And then when I learned that it helps activate the pineal gland, I love that even more. I've noticed I've had more vivid dreams since using the patches, and I'm just super into spirituality. So I just love this patch too.
It's one.
I'm really into lucid dreaming, so I'm trying to get back into lucid dreaming too.
Oh, that's so cool. I noticed more vivid dreams as well. And also interesting too, for any of us that have experienced mold toxicity, the Alavida was originally developed to help with oxidative stress as well. And a big thing that, gets people that have had, and I don't know all the mechanisms of why, but people that have had mold exposure obviously experience a lot of oxidative stress. So it's also a really great patch for that. And it puts your whole body into a better state for healing when you put that patch on. So it's a very nurturing, supportive patch. I think I really enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that actually for mold, people that are supporting their bodies as they're getting better from mold, I love the combination of, I think the 39 is great. The carnosine is amazing. It helps so many people experience fog too, even anxiety after it. It seemed to help me with that. And then the Alavita is a great one too. So those are all really nice patches.
I know it's hard to choose my favorite, but I think those are some of my top favorites.
Yeah, absolutely. So for one, I want to just point out that if anybody, we're independent distributors, we're brand partners, and what we do is we help people. So when they're starting the patches, we help them choose their patches, because it's a little, on the website, everything looks exactly the same until you know what the products, are specifically intended to do. So a lot of people like to work with somebody like Ashley, like myself. And so if you get in contact, we're going to be putting Ashley's email, if that's okay, and also her website link to where if you order Lifewave patches through her, she is your support system, so she knows a lot about the patches and she can kind of, if you have something specific going on, we don't necessarily recommend patches based on a diagnosis, but if you have symptoms going on, we can recommend patches, and Ashley is great for that. So we're going to be putting her contact in the description of this video. So if you want to get in contact with Ashley, you have some questions for her and things like that, she's going to be able to, to answer those questions. And if you'd like to, I think it puts you in the best start when you work with someone who's knowledgeable, and a lot of people will just go and try to guess at the patches. What would you say, so people can get in touch with you that way? I'm going to put it right in the description, but what would you say, do you have a couple of tips to give people, and it could be people that are having mold toxicity. It could also just be people that just, you're just not feeling great and you're starting the patches. Do you have any tips or things that you noticed when you were starting out?
I would say, are you asking for suggestions on which patch to use,
Sure,
or?
that'd be a great one. Like, what would you say if you just had someone come to you and they're just generally, they feel like they need, they're not in the best, they have something going on with their health. What do you have, like 2 favorite patches or 1 favorite patch that you might recommend?
Yeah, I would probably recommend either a mixture of the X39 and Aeon patch, because the Aeon patch can help a lot with inflammation. I actually haven't noticed a lot with the Aeon patch for myself, because I'm pretty healthy and I don't think I have a whole lot of inflammation in my body. But I do think that the Aeon patch and the X39 can be super beneficial for people who aren't super healthy and that are trying to be healthy.
Yeah, I think that's great. Great information for people, starting out. And it's so great that you were in generally very good health starting out too. That's not, I feel like there's a mixture of different people that I help with Lifewave, and some people are really thriving and they just want it to be even better. And for those people,
Yeah.
it's as simple as just wearing an X39 and just keeping it super simple. But anytime someone has, really for me, it's like anytime they have anything going on with their health and they're not feeling well, usually the X39 and the Aeon are great. And I'll put Ashley's links to the X39 and the Aeon. So if you just want to go in and, get them yourself and you don't want to have a consultation or what have you, you can always do that. And, is there a best way if people are to reach out? Do you like to email with people? Like if people have questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can email me at ashley@thatholisticgal.com. I actually have a website where I just started a blog, so I'll be talking more about the patches as well as some other holistic stuff on there.
I think that's so awesome. I mean, and one of the things too, so just one of the things that I want to point out is that when we go through this, like it's for all of us that have ever gone through mold toxicity, it's such a hard thing to put your finger on, and there are so many different things. So I always like to say, and I know you're the same, this is certainly not the only tool in our toolbox that we used to increase our health to become well again. But for me, it was something that there was nothing like it. And I had, fatigue for years, and I was just running on empty, and I felt like I was a car that was out of gas. And it was like I was
Yeah.
trying to let myself go, and I felt burnt out. And one thing, I still get tired sometimes, but it's not the same as having constant fatigue. It's like I listen to
Yeah.
I need to rest, but I don't think any supplement or any modality I did gave me energy like the patches. And that was one thing. It's hard to live your life without energy. It's hard to have, relationships. It's hard to have friends because you're just dragging, right?
I agree. Yeah. You have no motivation to do anything.
Yeah, I agree. So it's like for people, if they just do that one thing, which by the way might be 3 to 6 weeks, it's not always overnight. Like some people notice it, some people don't. It doesn't mean it's still working. Even if you don't feel it right away, it's still working. But I think just for the energy, the patch is worth, trying for, I always say 2 to 3 months, because I don't think 1 month does it, but
Mhm.
trying to try to give yourself energy at any age, because both of us were young, and we didn't have great energy. So I'm glad to have that. Everything's not perfect, but just energy is like the most precious commodity in life.
I agree.
Anything else that you want to add, or talk about that I didn't ask you, or talk, I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts.
I want to know what your favorite patch is.
Oh, that's a really great. So it's so hard. Yes, it's always going to be the X39. So if it was like I was stranded on a desert island, but they would give me patches, which could totally happen. Right? We're going to drop you on a desert island, but you can have like it would be the X39 for sure. Um, but I use different patches for different things. It's like I have every single patch, but I don't use them all the time. I love the X39. I wear the Ice Wave once or twice a month. It's like pain in my leg bones about once or twice a month sometimes. And I put a patch on each foot, and I don't have to take anything, any kind of over the counter,
Yeah.
stuff, discomfort. The Aeon has been really great. I don't need to wear it as much as I did initially. I love the Carnosine. The Carnosine I wear about twice a week. So there's different patches when I need extra support for my immune system. I put on a glutathione maybe once a week. So it's like I wear
Mhm.
my patches. I kind of wake up and say, how do I feel today? What do I think I need based on what my activities are? And then I just support my body through it. But
Yeah.
the X39 is what I go through, the fastest. And I used to wear silent nights because especially after living in mold, my sleep was not, it just wasn't happening. But I've gotten to such a good, what I think is great is like for certain things, I've gotten to such a good place. I'm not putting on that silent nights most of the time because I'm just
Mhm.
sleeping naturally regardless.
Yeah.
I use fewer patches now than I used to, because my body has naturally started
Nice.
some of the things I needed it to do.
Yeah, I love that you don't have to use the other patches other than the X39 and X49 every day. I think a lot of people think you have to, but you don't.
No, I agree. And so many of them, like for instance, the carnosine has a long half-life in your body, so you don't have to use that all the time. Many people don't need to use the glutathione. It just depends like on the individual and what's happening with them. But I like to start everybody out slowly because the patches do a lot. And I think
Mhm.
people get impatient and they're like, oh, I want to have all four. And I'm like, no, we're gonna go slowly. And I think like our job too as consultants is just sometimes teaching people that you have to listen to your body, and that often means being gentle when you start something new, not just going in with
Mhm.
like guns blazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's my favorite. I'm so glad that we got to chat today. It was also just really
Yeah.
to catch up with
I'm
you.
so grateful for you and that we met online and you
Too.
got me to try the patches because I've known about them since 2020 and I guess I was too skeptical to try them and I'm glad I did.
Same. I
I'm
mean,
glad
I
you
was
reached out.
Thank you. I was skeptical about them too. It took a few people telling me, and I'm glad that my super close friend that finally told me about them didn't give up, because I've shared them with so many people, and I just thought they were fake when I first heard about them. So
Yeah.
it's nice. I think most people start out cynically, and the great thing is, which I didn't know at the time, you can try them, and there's a 30-day return policy. So if people, for whatever reason, if you're that 3% of people that just you don't feel like they're for you, then Lifewave will take them back. You call them, never email them. It'll take forever, but call them. They're super, super nice, and that's always good to know.
Yeah.
So, well,
What's funny to me is I'm always looking at the Reddit posts and one person was like, someone gave me 30-day supply of X39s and I'm just gonna throw them in the trash because they're a scam. And I'm like, what?
yeah.
Why can't these people at least try them and give them a chance?
Yeah. And also I would just say also just never give anybody a 30-day supply too, because
Yeah.
if somebody wants to try the patches, there is no risk. They can just buy them. And if for whatever reason they're not happy, they can return them. And if they don't have, I mean, if they don't want it that much, then they must not feel like they're looking for something to feel better, because I know I was pretty much willing to do anything to feel better, and returning a product if I don't like it is not a big deal. So it's like I might once in a while give someone one patch, but I'm always going to put it directly on their body, and I'm never going to give them a month's supply because they're too precious and people might not wear them. And my pets
Yeah.
need them. So, it's like there's no way. So, well, I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day. And guys, if you want to get in touch with Ashley about the patches, we're going to be putting her email into the description. She's a really wonderful person inside and out that can help you with them, so that if you're using the patches, you have questions about, what you should use your first month. What might, if you use that for a while, maybe you feel like you need something different because you still have some symptoms. She can work with you on that. And she can just, what's wonderful is that she can advise you without pushing you. Like, neither of us are ever going to talk to someone and try to push them into anything. We're just going to share what we know. And if it's for you, it's for you. And if it's not, that's totally fine. We educate and consult and just help people. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you, Megan.
Well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. And also, I'm really proud of you. Thanks for showing up and sharing your story and everything. Like, I do YouTube all the time, and
Thank
you
you.
don't. So I just want to say,
Yeah, this was very different for me to do. So I hopefully I'll get better with my public speaking, but I
oh,
appreciate you for having me on here.
you don't need to get better with your public speaking. And I think you did great. My thing is, like, YouTube for me is just about showing up as a person and being authentic, and like what you see is what you get. And so, like, say I say like something slightly different than I meant to, I don't really care, because that's what I do when I'm speaking one-to-one. If we're messaging back and forth, I'm going to do the same thing. So yeah, thanks for just showing up and being you. That's how it's meant to be. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and this will be, posted in no time. And I hope our whole audience stays healthy and beautiful too. And look in the description for contacting Ashley. And by the way, if you sign up, with Ashley, and Ashley is your consultant and the person helping you, Ashley and I are a team. So that means that I'm here to help you too. So if you are with Ashley, you are with me, because we work closely as a team. So I just wanted to put that in there as well. You'll have access to all the Zooms, all the information, the private Facebook, and all that good stuff. So thank you. And I will talk to you later, Ashley.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait, do I enter recording?